Hi everybody, this is Joshua Kirk back with you guys once again on YouTube, and now it's time for episode 2 of Documentary of the Day. And this shirt I'm wearing here is a shirt that Richard Santos sent me, a Wilco t-shirt, which makes sense because the documentary I'm going to talk about today is a documentary that it's a Wilco documentary that came out in 2002 and was released on DVD in 2003. And this shirt is for like Wilco's like fall 2009 tour, I think it is. At the time, their self-titled album was their current thing going on. But I'm here to review a documentary on Wilco done by a company called Plexifilm, and along with Cowboy Pictures, and the film directed by Sam Jones that came out in the summer of 2002 and then came out on DVD in the spring of 2003. The documentary is called I Am Trying to Break Your Heart. So there's the cover there, and it has Wilco's 2002 lineup, which was Jeff Tweedy, Leroy Bach, John Stariat, and Glenn Coche. So there's a cover, spine, and the back. And this is a 2-disc set, so there's a lot of stuff going on. And it has a few critiques, but I'm not going to mention those, since there's a lot of stuff on here. On the first disc, it has the commentary from Sam Jones and Wilco, some English subtitles in the trailer, along with the extra disc that has extra footage, 17 additional Wilco tracks, alternate versions of songs from Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, live concert performances, and new release songs. And I am trying to make a film making a featurette. And then there's like a 40-page booklet in here with filmmaker's diary, exclusive photos, and liner notes from Rolling Stone's David Frick, who writes a lot of album reviews for Rolling Stone. There's disc 1 and disc 2, and it has like some artwork underneath. That's of the band's loft where they recorded Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. And pretty much after that album, the rest of Wilco's records were like, after that album, every Wilco album was created in their loft. And then here's the booklet. And this is probably my favorite music documentary. I mean, I've watched this one so many times. There are some good music documentaries out there, but this is one that particularly moves me. It's like a very smart and insightful one, and a very honest one. Because, you know, the thing with documentaries is you gotta find a pretty reliable source if you really want to, you know, find a quality one. A lot of pages in this one, full of like dialogue from David Frick of Rolling Stone. So that's the packaging for I Am Trying to Break Your Heart by Wilco, a film directed by Sam Jones. Yeah. And by the way, that tapping sound you just heard, that was my red ukulele. So let's talk about this documentary. So it kind of, you know, starts out basically, you know, mostly footage of like the band like at their loft, you know, just kind of starting recording on Yankee Hotel Foxtrot and arranging stuff, and it has some like, you know, and it opens up with the opening credits with an acoustic version of the song "I Am Trying to Break Your Heart" off of Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. Which features basically like Jeff Tweedy kind of riding around in his car around Chicago, which is the band's hometown. And then of course, it has some dialogue from, members of Wilco, along with Tony Margarita, who is the band's manager. It features like tons of moments where the band's like arranging, songs in their loft and basically working out what they want the song to be like or something like that. And there's also some pretty funny moments in the documentary too, like, there's definitely a little bit of, humor in there as well, which sort of comes out of like, there are some pretty funny like random points in there, but like, for the most part, it's a pretty smart documentary that's really honest. It really does focus quite a bit on the band's craft and, their ability to just kind of do what they want and not think too much about their record label pressure or too much. In fact, the pressure they were feeling from this record wasn't really because of their label. It was more kind of, pressure of like, is this sound going to appeal to the public? Is it going to do as well as the last two ones did? So like, it shows them like recording a bunch of stuff, like noise tracks, like, it shows Jay Bennett doing some weird little like stuff, like, he'll do a little note on the piano, and plus he'll like do some weird things with guitars and percussion to create all kinds of weird like noise tracks. So like basically the whole band contributed to a lot of the noise tracks that you hear on the album, which really does show on tracks like Poor Places, for example. I mean, like, the end of Poor Places is basically just an odyssey of different noise tracks, along with a weird little, like, female voice saying, Yankee, Hotel, Foxtrot, like, just over and over again. And over again. So it kind of makes sense that when they play that song live now, Nels Cline just kind of feels free to make as much noise with the guitar as he wants to. So it really does show how they're focusing a lot on arranging songs and figuring out what arrangement they feel is gonna work for them or something like that. So they like spend a lot of time on it. You see, like a little bit of pre-production for like Poor Places or Ashes of American Flags and Camera and tracks like that. And there's actually there's one point in there where they're recording some additional stuff at CRC Studios, and they're recording a cello track for the song Reservations, which on the version that I'm hearing on the album, I'm not really hearing a whole lot of cello on them. The recording of Reservations, but apparently they're recording a guy playing cello on it, so it turns out he's on there, just they kind of mixed it out a little bit so that way it wouldn't be overpowering or something. Because one of the importances of making a good album is mixing it well, making sure nothing's overpowering, making sure the things that need to be in the front are in the front, and making sure what needs to be in the back is in the back. So in order to make an album, you gotta mix it, and you gotta mix it the proper way. And thankfully they seem to know how to do that, They'll record a ton of tracks, and then just mix out the ones that they don't need or something like that. That's kind of the way it is pretty much with recording, you know, thing, you know. And then there's actually one point where they're mixing the album, some of the members are mixing "I'm the Man Who Loves You," which has a ton of tracks on it, which has a ton of slide tracks on it, and percussion and stuff like that, and there's also the use of a saxophone on "I'm the Man Who Loves You," in which, based on what I see on the mixing board, Leroy Bach is the one that did the sax on that track. And then there's actually one point where Jeff Tweedy and Jay Bennett get into a little, kind of argument. Not an angry one, but rather just kind of a decision-making argument on heavy metal drummer. Jay realizes that Jeff wanted the little kit at the beginning of the track, and then the big kit. It's like dun 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 dun, and then the big drum kit. So the little kit, I assume, was like an electronic kit, because I'm hearing this weird little electronic drum sound at the beginning of that track, which during the live show, Glenn Coche did it with acoustic drums, but on the studio version they did it with electronic drums. Jay's basically, kind of trying to make, Jeff understand, pretty much what he's trying to say or something like that. They spent a lot of time on that, and then of course they went back to their loft and did some rehearsing, for some of the songs, since they were rehearsing for their summer tour, basically. But of course, it also talks about kind of the corporate shenanigans that can go on when you're on a major label. It has, one point, it features some dialogues from some of the people at Wilco's old label, Reprise, including the president of Reprise, Howie Klein. Of course, it's kind of this thing where, they basically, the Reprise people were struggling to struggling to do promotion for the album, and obviously when they heard it, they didn't dig, the weird sounds that Wilco was doing. So, they asked Wilco to, change the record and give it a commercial makeover or something. And, Wilco's pretty much never interested in that. So, they weren't interested in making the changes. So Reprise suggested they move to another label. And then, of course, there's some dialogue from, David Frick at Rolling Stone. And he talks about how, if he was an executive of a huge record label with gold-plated cell phones, as he referred it to, and listened to Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, he wouldn't get it, probably. And he talks about how, it's kind of a record that you kind of have to sit with, and that there's a certain abrasion to it. So if you want a really good review on that album, check out the one Rolling Stone wrote for it. It's just overwhelmingly, raving, pretty much, being positive. And as of right now, Rolling Stone considers Yankee Hotel Foxtrot a revelation, one of the greatest albums ever made by an artist. It's not just by a rock artist, but any artist out there. And then it shows them on summer tour, and kind of showcasing some of the new songs with the audience. War on War is one track that they've been playing quite a bit, previewing the fans with. So, which kind of makes sense, because I'm pretty sure that not only was the band bummed that they were dropped by Reprise, but I'm sure the fans were bummed they had to wait a while for the album. Since they had been anticipating this for a while, since being there in Summer Teeth, they're like just two just awesome albums that totally like move you and are like Wilco's the kind of band where they've always put out good stuff, but like it's the older stuff that's just there's something there's just something magical about their older stuff. Their stuff, that's for sure. Which is kind of the case for most artists, I think. So like they're on a summer tour, and of course and then it also has a point where Jay Bennett sort of talks about why he left the band. So towards it was like fall of 2001 when Jay Bennett announced he would be leaving Wilco, so he sort of talks about why he left the band. I don't know if it was because he had a struggling connection or something like that, but band members usually leave the band either because of health problems, because they have a hard time getting along with the other members, or plus they got other things on their hand, like some band members have left because they had kids, that they had to take care of and realized that they can't live two lives at once, a home life and a touring life. So there are tons of reasons why band members have to move on and leave a band, no matter how bummed some of the older fans may be. Their fans may be. And it also shows some footage where, there's Jeff with his wife, Sue Miller, and his two kids, Spencer and Sam, which he's current, Jeff Tweedy, Jeff Tweedy had recently been on doing a project with his son Spencer in a project called Tweedy, so they put out an album and they've been touring for a few months, but I'm not sure if they're on tour now, because Wilco's gonna be on the road quite a bit this summer, because they're always on the road quite a bit, And then the good news is this four-person lineup with Jeff, Leroy, John, and Glenn. Thankfully, they met the folks at Nonesuch, then sent the record to them, and thankfully, they loved it and agreed to release it and do plenty of promotion for it, because, of course, not only should you have your album out on a label that likes it, but also, you also gotta have your album, you also gotta have plenty of promotion for your album, so that way it sells enough copies. In fact, there are definitely some albums out there that fail to sell and get so much promotion. Nonesuch is pretty much a label that was good for the band in terms of what they thought of the album, along with how good promoting would be, and how good promoting would be. I mean, Nonesuch loved the record so much that they paid for it twice. Nonesuch just loved the record so much that they paid for it twice. It was going to be out in summer of 2001, but ended up not getting released until spring of 2002, because it took a while before they find the label that finally got it, what they were doing on there. So this is a great documentary. It's definitely a very smart one. It definitely, as opposed to other documentaries on bands, from VH1 that focus a lot on, stardom that they have, or drug possessions, or tons of like, you know, awful things that they've dealt with. You know, this documentary doesn't really talk about any of that. Wilco's story is the music, so they're not like, so music's really the only thing they're really focused on when it comes to, you know, what they're doing, pretty much, you know. This documentary, if you're looking for a documentary that doesn't focus too much on like drugs or, you know, people wanting to be huge, if you're looking for a documentary that just focuses on the music and nothing else, this is the way to go right here. I would definitely, you know, give this documentary like a 10 out of 10, because it's like, you know, there's like nothing wrong with it. It's you know, definitely, you know, one that definitely, you know, kind of inspires you. Like it, you know, it will definitely inspire musicians to not worry so much about how many people notices them. This is one documentary that will help people make sure the music's what they're really focused on. That was my review on I'm Trying to Break Your Heart. I'll see you for another review. Not sure if it's going to be a movie review or an album review or something like that, but, you know, see you for my next video.